Einstein is often regarded as one of the greatest geniuses of our time, yet he says things such as, quote, "It is not that I'm smart, I just stay with problems longer." Einstein had hard days of studying too, and there are actually techniques that could actually make you get better at it more than ever. If you stay towards the end, I'm going to give you a bonus tip that a lot of self-improvement hasn't really covered that much. You need to understand yourself before you decide to go into learning. There are 4 learning styles. There are visual, auditory, read and write, and kinesthetic. In the Feynman technique, for example, they tell you that you need to fill in the gaps and reteach yourself. But if you have a teacher that just sits up there and talks and talks and talks all class long, then you're not going to be able to learn anything. You need to fill in the gap. Visual learners generally like to see pictures, images, graphs, and charts. They like to see images associated with the thing that they're learning. Auditory learners like to hear things. They like to associate sounds of it, repeat the sounds of it over and over again, hear lectures. They are strong in auditory. Read and write learners generally like to do things through texts. They like to write the word over and over again on a piece of paper, and they enjoy reading the content and reading stories about it. Kinesthetic learners, on the other hand, like to use their bodies. They like to move around with it, associate emotions with it, and have a strong kinesthetic energy associated with it. Einstein was a visual learner. He could imagine the images of the math problems, and he could imagine the physics side of things, and that's why he was really good at it. He was not much of a read and write learner, and he didn't like reading texts about foreign languages when he was in school. Now, if you can't decide your learning style, you could be a multimodal learner, which means you're a combo of all of them. I happen to be a multimodal learner myself, and I like to have a combo of each of them. Now that we've had your learning style, we need to use the Feynman technique, which is reteach it to yourself. So if you use the right learning style or the learning style that you're missing, or a combination of the learning styles, you'll be able to reteach yourself the method. That's what the Feynman technique does. You need to know your why. If you understand your why, then you're able to stick through it during hard times. Let's say you want to get really good at cooking because you're tired of eating out all the time. Then you need to imagine that goal of getting good at it. Then you need to find something you enjoy about cooking, or recipes that you really enjoy. Or let's say you want to get good at working out. Start off with exercises that you really enjoy the most, or exercises that you don't mind that you could go to and transition into it. Einstein had reason. He had reason behind physics. He had a strong curiosity because he wanted to understand the meaning of the world. So he had a very strong purpose, and he stuck with it and always found the most interesting parts of physics whenever he was learning. Now, I'm not saying you need to know the meaning of the universe with cooking that recipe or that exercise you want to do, but it is good to have a reason of what you look like and how great you feel, knowing that reason is in the back of your head. If you kind of want to learn something, you're not really going to stick around with it for that long. If you give a strong reason and you know why you want to, and you have a purpose, and you have something consistently coming towards you, your reason would stay whenever you have hard days. You don't want to burn yourself out, of course, but you need to keep your reasoning up so that you could stay with it during hard times. This is a very important part of learning, chunking. We're not designed to learn for 8 hours straight. We need to have 40 minutes to an hour and a half of chunking in order to have a period to subconsciously learn about it. You need to subconsciously keep it in. When you're on your break, you could think about it more and process it. According to the book Mind for Numbers, we have this thing in our brains called the diffuse mode, where when we have our brain diffused and we are sitting down, we are able to subconsciously think about it and reprogram it into our head so it feels easier next time, rather than overly working on it. And Einstein did a lot of chunking. He studied for long periods of time, but he did the diffuse mode himself because he would spend lots of time sitting, thinking. He would diffuse his brain so that he could remember the mathematical problems in his head. He would remember a lot of stuff because he spends a lot of time thinking and relaxing. You can sit and relax, and during that time you're relaxing in between study sessions or in between when you're taking a break, you are remembering it more clearly, which is really important when you're in the diffuse mode. Einstein was a big fan of the diffuse method. He didn't know what the diffuse method was at the time, but he got really good at it, and that's the key to remember. The last part of the video I want to get to is consistency. I believe consistency is king. So let's say your brain is like a bucket and you have a hole at the bottom of the bucket that always has water coming out of it. That hole is always leaking, but the water is you consistently learning it. Now, if you keep learning it consistently for a long period of time, Even if the water comes out of the bucket, you still will have water left over. But if you quit doing it after a month, then you will notice that you have a really hard time doing it compared to previously because you have to replenish that level all over again. So if you consistently do it every day or every other day or every week, you will be able to replenish that bucket of water because consistency is king. And if you stay consistent on what you do with your reason and your chunking, then you'll get good at what you want because you have the reason to stay consistent at what you do. Consistency with the reason will make you unstoppable at any skill that you want to learn. Einstein was really consistent because he stayed with his reason. He had a strong curiosity for the meaning of physics, and because of that, he often studied it every day. Now, there are many people out there who read all the self-improvement books they could find. They watch all these videos you see on YouTube, believe that you could do it, and you still struggle with it. And why do you still struggle with it? Even when you have a reason, you know your learning style, you're consistent, and you're chunking, you're wondering why on earth is it not working? The answer is friends. If you are seeing people that are always negative, they're going to bring you down with you. And no matter how much you read, if you have them to talk to about it, you're going to forget all the information that you do or just do it with lower effort. Einstein had a great group of friends. He collaborated with Marcel Grossman, even his wife knew math really well, and he worked with J. Robert Oppenheimer, so he had a really strong influence to stay on it even when the hard days came in. A good example of this was I knew the reason on why I wanted to pass high school, and I had a teacher that would teach me lessons in geometry after school every day. And I would take extra lessons. I would study through all the learning styles, but I would still fail his test every week, and I barely passed geometry in the process. Why? The reason why is because every time I came home to negative people, I met friend groups that did not want to pass, and they did not even want to pass high school, and I would waste a bunch of time with them, and in the process, even with all these things, I just did not feel a motivation to study it extra hard in my spare time, and as a result, I failed a lot of my geometry classes. When I started studying more independently, or I found a better group that wanted to pass more, I was able to actually finally get it done. So I highly recommend that anyone who has people bringing you down, either make them a lower part of your life, or don't even include them altogether. Find a way to have positive influences in your life, and if you have all these positive influences in your life, then you would be able to get a lot more stuff done, and whether you're an independent learner or not, you need to a great feeling of this in your head the majority of the time, and not spend over 50% of your time with people that want to bring you down. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.